This vagrant is simply sitting unobtrusively on the train. Harmony is before long upset when a gathering of youthful hooligans enters the cart. The hooligans chance upon two different travelers, clarifying that they are trying too hard to find something. One of different travelers shows them a firearm. However, the head of the hooligans, Anton, isn't terrified of it. Anton and his gathering figure out how to frighten different folks who doubtlessly leave. Subsequent to let his companions know that they will move a few weapons this week, Anton sees the vagrant and thinks that this is a great opportunity to make a few new companions. The youthful agitator attempts to take the man's liquor. However, the man gets his hand and expects tight to remember. This man isn't simply any vagrant. Truth be told, he is John Reese, a specialist who has seen very some activity previously. Anton attempts to pull his hand away. However, John holds it immovably. Then, at that point, he chooses to deliver it, yet Anton is as yet not blissful. He prods John, saying that he has not brought sufficient liquor for the entire gathering. These youthful folks have no clue about who they are playing with, so that is presumably why they attempt to corner John. John moves quickly and deals with them, breaking their hands, meaning their delicate regions, and hitting their throats barely enough to make them wheeze for air. Them five are taken to the police headquarters. Official Carter investigates the video film and afterward goes into the room where John is being kept. Carter messes with him, saying that he ought to have helped her out and land a few additional punches on those troublemakers. Carter attempts to make casual banter. John stays quiet, yet Carter thinks of a plan to figure out what his identity is. She offers John some water and replaces his past plastic cup with the enhanced one. She is exceptionally mindful, so as to convey the cup while contacting it within as opposed to snatching it like an ordinary individual would. Carter pardons herself and gives the cup to her person in the assistance. The crime scene investigation fellow checks the cup for fingerprints and afterward analyzes them against the police data set. They figure out John's genuine name and that he has been engaged with different crime locations. Also, there are 4 dynamic capture warrants for him in 4 unique nations. He is certainly a man with a boring tale. Despite the fact that Carter couldn't want anything more than to know more, yet he is before long delivered by a secretive legal counselor. The legal counselor takes him to his manager, Harold Finch, who needs to sit down to chat with Reese. As it shows up, Harold is a rich man with bunches of admittance to data. He appears to have a deep understanding of John's past. He additionally realizes that John is attempting to drink himself to death. So he declares that he is what John needs, which is a reason and a task. Finch takes him to the focal point of New York City to let him know that someone kicks the bucket like clockwork in New York. However, imagine a scenario in which they could stop that. Finch guarantees that he has a rundown of individuals who are going to be engaged with violations. He directs John toward a lady named Hansen and lets him know that something will happen, including her. The issue with Harold's rundown is that he can't be aware assuming the name on the rundown will be the person in question or the culprit. Accordingly, he believes John should follow this lady, figure out the thing will occur, and save the casualty in question. Then again, John accepts that Harold is only a rich man who is following his ex, so he obviously leaves. Harold's men attempt to stop him. However, John handles them in practically no time. Afterward, Reese invests some energy in an inn, shaving to change his appearance. That evening, Finch sets him up by playing a recording of a homicide that occurred a long time back, just inside the nearby lodging where John is going through the evening. Finch jokes by saying that John is past the point of no return, adding that he was likewise late for his companion Jessica. This uncovers that Reese had a sweetheart he cherished and lost, in spite of the fact that John resents Finch. What in blazes do you are familiar this? It's reality. He is persuaded to work with him since they might actually save certain individuals by staying together. Harold assumes him to a position he utilizes as a focal point of tasks, and John understands that Harold's rundown does exclude names. Yet rather the government-backed retirement quantities of individuals possibly engaged with violations. John will work and limits Hansen's foes to 2 individuals. One of them could be a legal counselor named Wheeler, who used to date Hansen, yet she said a final farewell to him. The other one could be a criminal named Pope, who was shipped off prison by Hansen, as John keeps following her. He goes to Pope's preliminary, where criminal investigator Fusco is giving his articulation. Be that as it may, after the preliminary, Hansen chides Fusco in light of the fact that he got off script without her knowing. Afterward, Hansen visits Pope in jail to let him know that she accepts he isn't the one at fault for the wrongdoing credited to him. John hears on the receiver introduced in her telephone that Pope has a more youthful sibling named Michael, whom he is attempting to secure. As it is inferred, Pope is lying about the homicide he probably dedicated to shield his sibling from the genuine killers since Michael saw them committing a killing. The following day, Wheeler enters Hansen's office to study Mike via looking through her PC. So John thinks that he is involved in some way. That evening, the troublemakers get to Michael first. However, John intercedes and shoots their truck with a projectile launcher. Reese saves Michael, and furthermore takes a few identifications from these troublemakers, uncovering that they are messy police. Reese begins observing once again them and figures out that they are working with Fusco. The filthy police kill individuals to keep their mouths shut, while Fusco sets up honest individuals to go to prison. Presently, John needs to find out about Harold's rundown, and the last option uncovers that after the assault of 9/11, the public authority employed him to construct a machine that joins data on individuals. Getting that data from every one of the cameras and amplifiers in the country, the machine produces two sorts of records. One zeroed in on conceivable fear-based oppressor assaults, and one zeroed in on different sorts of violations. Harold has constructed an indirect access to get the subsequent rundown, yet all they get is the government-managed retirement numbers, so they need to accomplish a work to figure out the thing will occur. John proceeds with his work while he accepts that Hansen is at serious risk. In any case, as it shows up, Hansen is working with the grimy police, who likewise killed Pope the previous evening in his cell. Hansen advises the messy police to likewise kill Wheeler, since he is taking excessively. The issue is Wheeler. While Fusco shows up behind John and focuses a weapon at him, John gets away from Fusco's care, as he is taking him to the desert to kill him and gets back to New York. The filthy police are going to kill Wheeler while they outline a hooligan for it. However, Reese is exactly on schedule to stop them. Then he deals with Hansen by stirring a few accounts up. At last, he coerces Fusco to work for him, since he will require someone from within to work for him. A couple of days after the fact, John enters a lift and starts talking with a person named Bill. He requests the man from the Blossoms he is holding her for his significant other. Be that as it may, Reese definitely knows the response. He begins saying that a few ladies forsake their accomplices when they discover that they undermine them. However, different ladies recruit two people to make it seem to be a theft turned out badly. With that, Reese takes up the two people following Bill and advises him to call a decent separation legal counselor. The following day, the machine has another number for Harold and John to deal with. This time, the number has a place with a young lady named Theresa. Yet her case is a piece unique. Harold takes John to the burial ground and lets him know that Theresa should be there. Her dad was a land engineer. In any case, the market declined and he failed. That made him insane. Furthermore, he killed his family on an end-of-the-week trip prior to directing the firearm back toward himself. Harold broadcasts that the machine sees everything, so assuming her number appeared, it implies that the young lady is alive. Reese visits Fusco to request to get this case's document from the police. Also, Fusco has no other decision except for to oblige. In the wake of perusing the record, John lets Finch know that this was an expert hit. The hired gunman made it appear as though the dad got it done. Made it look point like the dad got it done. Harold thinks about how Reese knows it, and the last option makes sense of that this is the manner in which he would make it happen. Before long, Finch utilizes his innovation to track down the young lady. What's more, John pursues her. Theresa comprehends that she is being followed and figures out how to escape before John can snag her. John visits Harold in an office where he is by all accounts working. As it is uncovered, Harold claims the organization and simply works there so he can go unnoticed without really trying. John likewise gives Harold a little gadget that Theresa abandoned. This gadget records card data when individuals utilize their Visas and ATMs. Obviously, Theresa gets by taking card data and afterward pulling out cash. Then, at that point, Reese makes an inquiry or to the roads to find out about the executioner who got the agreement for Theresa's family and discovers that a person nicknamed Solnick made it happen. The hired gunman is presently in prison since he got captured for another case. John visits him and asks him for what reason he didn't kill the young lady. Solnick answers that he has a code and he could never kill a youngster. He just informed the young lady that assuming she told anyone regarding him, he would come for her to complete the task. Reese needs to realize who employed him. However, Solnick says that he just met the one who recruited him once and he got compensated in real money. No names were traded. Before long, Theresa attempts to sell some financial data on the web and Finch can follow her. Reese views as her, yet they are blocked by a professional killer who is after the young lady. John saves the young lady and takes her to an inn where she uncovers that her dad faulted her Uncle Derek for what has been going on with him. John finds Derek and finds that he worked with two major project workers to eliminate his sibling since his territory would be acquired by him. They did it since that real estate parcel is currently worth multiple times its old worth. Notwithstanding, they are presently hoping to kill Theresa since they realize that she will acquire her dad's property assuming some lawful element finds that she is alive. John finds one of these enormous project workers and runs a huge truck over his vehicle. Reese requests that the man cancel the hit on Theresa. However, the man says that it is now occurring back at the lodging. The professional killer is attempting to track down Theresa. While Harold attempts to get the young lady outside by means of the emergency exit, the professional killer tracks down them and focuses his firearm at them. Yet John shows up exactly on schedule and kills the professional killer. After a day, John calls Specialist Carter and tells her that it is the ideal opportunity for them to meet. Carter carries a few mystery officials with her, yet the main thing she finds is Theresa. At the point when she takes the young lady to the police headquarters to rejoin her with her Annie, Carter attempts to extricate some data from her. Yet the young lady guarantees her difficult experience has caused her some sort of injury, and she can't remember a lot of data about the one who helped her. At long last, Reese visits Harold in his office once more. However, the last option has moved to another office. At the point when John calls him, Harold advises him that he is an extremely confidential individual and asks Reese not to call him. Harold will possibly call him when they need to talk. Harold and John don't have a lot of time accessible to rest. As the machine gives them another number soon, Finch figures out that the number has a place with a person named Joey, who is a fighter in the military and has gotten different decorations for his grit. Reese begins observing once again Joey, who fills in as a man of the hour at an inn. Before long, Joey sends an unusual message to a number and goes home. John follows him, and they end up inside a bank. Joey wears a veil while his assistant is into the bank and commit a burglary. John can't do anything as he is nailed to the ground. The gatekeeper attempts to go after his firearm, yet John stops him since this is definitely not a smart thought. After the burglary, Harold needs to completely finish this case and proposes they transform Joey into the police before anyone winds up dead. In any case, Reese needs to figure out how such a decent fighter engaged with equipped bank thefts. He watches over Joey for some time and sorts out that he is associated with an organization of previous troopers who commit burglaries. Reese finds the data he really wants to build a decent story and meets a previous sergeant named Sam, who possesses a bar. He guarantees he is searching for a task with a significant compensation and an alleged dead Marine companion of his proposed Sam previously. A couple of days after the fact, Finch sets up the group's driver so he can be captured by the police. This opens up a space for Reese to be a piece of the group, and he has his most memorable gathering with Joey and his group. Meanwhile, Carter watches the recording from the bank and sees the rear of John's body, saving the safety officer by keeping him from snatching his firearm. At the point when John meets Harold once more, he guarantees that Joey doesn't seem to be the sort of fellow who might kill someone. It's one thing to kill when you are at war, and one more to kill blameless individuals. Reese professes to meet with Joey haphazardly and begins asking him when they will finish a work. Joey makes sense of the relies upon Sam, since he is the person who provides the orders. Both of them grow a piece nearer after they provoke two financiers. So Reese begins inquiring as to whether Joey has any children, since he realizes that this fighter is associated with two unique ladies. Joey needs to keep his business hidden, so he simply says that he has a few commitments to deal with. A couple of days after the fact, the pack calls Reese for a mission. While the police figure out how to figure out the character of one of the gangsters, the gathering ransacks an underground betting site that has a place with the mafia. Also, they leave the spot just before the police arrive. Sam readies the group for one more hit, and Harold accepts that the time has come to stop this. Reese requests some additional time since he needs to safeguard Joey. He's discovered that one of the ladies he meets is his sweetheart, while the other one is the spouse of his pal at war. His pal has a little girl, and Joey has made it his central goal to accumulate some cash for her, so she can grow up serenely. John joins the group in their next mission, which is to take the proof of a case that has something to do with someone named Elias. Finch finds that Sam is setting the group up and cautions Reese about it. At the point when the persons hand the case documents to Sam, he kills them. However, Reese figures out how to save Joey and encourages him to leave town. Afterward, Sam hands the case proof to an obscure individual. At the point when Reese finds him, Sam is as of now dead. After all the pressure these folks go through, Harold concludes that it is a great time for him to visit the specialist, despite the fact that he encounters some back aggravation and needs a few pills. His primary reason for visiting is to take Dr. Tillman's clinic radio. The machine has given her number, and the heroes need to figure out what's the deal with her. John begins observing once again her, and understands that she is a seriously forlorn individual. She is all work and no good times. One evening, however, Tillman chooses to go out, and a person hits on her. He attempts to follow her, however Reese deals with him. Yet back inside the club, Reese sees a person named Andrew, who found Tillman before that day. Reese reimburses the blessing and chances upon him, just to figure out that this man conveys a few medications with him. John gains from the barkeep that Tillman visits the club consistently alone. Most likely, she has definitely stood out. The following day, John breaks into Andrew's loft and takes his records from his PC when he surveys them with Harold. They observe that Andrew is a hunter, and he is continually searching for chances to take advantage of ladies. He likewise has a crook record from school, yet that record has been formally erased. Meanwhile, Carter surveys the recording from John's group when they entered the base camp to take the case documents. She comprehends that one of the cheats had a concise communication with Harold. Furthermore, they traded a few words. Sometime thereafter, John looks as Andrew approaches Tillman in the bar. Both of them have a fast being a tease experience prior to leaving the bar. Andrew welcomes Tillman back to his home. However, the specialist isn't available. As Andrew leaves, Tillman follows him and utilizes a camera to intently zoom in and watch his moves more. John calls Finch to let him know that Andrew isn't following Tillman, but instead the specialist is following the broker. John goes to Fusco to assist him with getting Andrew's old record. At the point when he understands it, John assembles the dabs. In school, Andrew was blamed for physically attacking a young lady. However, the charges were dropped in light of the fact that nothing could be demonstrated since the young lady was 2 days late to report the occurrence. Afterward, that young lady committed the unfathomable by consuming an excessive number of medications. Yet that young lady was an extraordinary young lady. She was Dr. Tillman's sister, so the specialist is searching for vengeance. The machine gave them her number since she will attempt to kill Andrew. With respect to Harold, he gets a visit from Carter, who asks him everything the looter said to him. Obviously, Harold lies and claims that the burglar told him not to gaze at him. Meanwhile, John proceeds with his examination and finds that Tillman has purchased an adequate number of synthetic compounds to make Andrew's body disintegrate after she kills him. John will likely cause Andrew to vanish some way or another with the goal that Tillman can't execute her arrangement. Reese would what he has in care and causes a mishap utilizing Andrew's vehicle while he has stacked it with drugs. The police capture Andrew. However, he is given up the following day. Reese figures this ought not be occurring. However, Fusco makes sense of that this person is rich and has 4 attorneys with suits more costly than his yearly compensation. That evening, Tillman enters Andrew's condo and tases him. Then, at that point, he medicates him and conveys him to her van in a wheelchair. Nonetheless, John intercedes and requests that Tillman sit with him, since he knows who she is conveying to the rear of her van. All right, you got restricted toward the rear of the van. John figures out how to persuade her not to kill Andrew since, supposing that she does, the main piece of herself will kick the bucket. Tillman isn't an executioner, yet rather an individual who helps individuals. Reese takes Andrew to a confined area, and both of them start an intriguing discussion. In reality, John attempts to decide whether he ought to permit Andrew to live in light of the fact that individuals could change, or on the other hand on the off chance that he ought to kill him since individuals don't change. John contemplates whether there are great individuals in this world any longer, or on the other hand, assuming that there are simply great choices to make. He additionally contemplates whether he will lament really permitting Andrew to live or killing him. At last, John requests that Andrew assist him with arriving at a decent choice, and the episode slices to dark. A couple of days after the fact, the machine gives Finch the following government-backed retirement number, which compares to a man named Samuel Entryways. Samuel works at a high court as an adjudicator, and the rumors from far and wide suggest that he is exceptionally fair. He is an intense adjudicator who has proclaimed battle on wrongdoing. Thusly, it isn't impossible for him to have made numerous adversaries. John chases after him and understands that a couple of folks are after the appointed authority. One of them is going to take action, so Reese plans for a battle. However, at that point, he sees the man hauling his telephone out, communicating something specific and tossing it in the dumpster. John pivots to snatch that telephone and peruses a message that discussions about Samuel's child completing school. John says they have been following some unacceptable individual, while simultaneously, a few troublemakers attempt to seize Samuel's child. Reese attempts to shut down these men and takes part in a battle with them. However, one of them pulls a gun and shots him. Reese drops oblivious while the troublemakers remove the youngster. Before long, the appointed authority gets a call from the hijackers who let him know that they have his child. They brief him to hang tight for their call and not educate anybody regarding this. The appointed authority is crushed by this information, so John chooses to get close to him to attempt to help. "Who are you?" "I'm here to help you." He lets the adjudicator know that the hijackers will keep his child alive for however long he is valuable to them. Samuel needs to know what John's identity is, yet he is simply someone who is attempting to help. Both of them get to the adjudicator's home, and the man thinks about how the hijackers got past his caution. John advises the adjudicator to sit tight for the following call of the ruffians while he goes to the babysitter's home. As he does, he is on the telephone with Finch, who is attempting to hack the PDA organization to follow the call the hijackers made to the appointed authority. Until further notice, Finch can't do it while Reese figures out that the babysitter is dead. Most presumably, the hijackers got past the caution by separating the code from her. Ruffians killed the caretaker. Afterward, Finch assists John with finding part of the gang he saw before, and Reese whips him. At the point when the man falls oblivious, John reveals his chest and understands that he has a tattoo that implies he is an individual from a group called SP9. Initially, this pack is from Eastern Europe, however some way or another they are here now, or they have opened a branch in New York. That evening, the hijackers call the adjudicator, yet what they need isn't cash. They believe the adjudicator should toss the instance of a lady named Angela. In the event that the lady strolls free, they will give Samuel his child back. At the point when they hang up, the appointed authority uncovers that Angela's case is a basic one. She ran over someone and deserted him. Meanwhile, Finch discovers that the SP9 group has extended their tasks, and they have constructed a presence in around 18 nations. The following day, Samuel needs to control Angela's preliminary, and he assists her case with working out in a good way. Notwithstanding, he slows down as long as he can prior to arriving at a choice. The posse manager calls him to request that he quit messing around. However, Samuel broadcasts that he needs to do this the correct way. Concerning Reese, he has examined the person he got before and has gotten the area of a spot where the man goes to get compensated. He visits the spot and finds a portion of $1 million from there on, beating 2 people protecting the cash. Finch stands by listening to Angela's discussion with the group manager on the telephone and assembles the specs. Angela works in a bank that is creating a product that spots tax evasion of some sort or another. However, she can switch it off with a tick on her PC. Doubtlessly, she is working with the pack's supervisor to assist him with laundering his cash. The posse utilizes online installment strategies to pay for their costs, including human resources like legal advisors. The following day, Finch claims to be working at the bank and takes some data from the servers. As the preliminary proceeds, John attempts to track down Samuel's child. However, the youngster isn't in the spot John trusted him to be. Since the adjudicator has no insight about him, he is compelled to free Angela, everything being equal. The pack supervisor calls Samuel to go get his child. However, John realizes that they will kill the adjudicator. At the point when Samuel shows up at the area, the miscreants brief him to express farewell to his child. Yet Reese shows up with Angela and refers to the data he knows. Angela switches the calculation off for 3 minutes each day in the bank, so the SP9 can play out their exchanges. That is the means by which she is associated with the bank. The pack supervisor accepts that the entire effort is scorched, so he arranges his folks to kill everyone. The collaboration brings about a shootout with the troublemakers losing. Ultimately, Finch hands a proof to a legal counselor so they can send Angela to jail while the police see as her restricted alongside the criminals. Also, might pity anyone home? John Reese needs to imagine he is a driver to reach out to the following individual that the machine guides him toward. He meets with a lady named Zoe Morgan and claims to be her new driver. Zoe is cautious, so she calls the organization to inquire as to whether they truly send her another driver. In any case, Finch is the person who answers the call and covers for John. John drives her to a place where she pays a person to get a weapon, yet back in her condo, Finch tracks down another firearm. John remarks that the main explanation she would purchase a subsequent firearm is on the grounds that it is untraceable. Zoe puts on something else while John drives her to an occasion. He chooses to follow her since he accepts she may be the culprit. At the occasion, Zoe meets with a high-positioned official and gives him the weapon. Their discussion uncovers that a cop lost his weapon, and Zoe just recovered it for him to save him the difficulty. Ultimately, John drives Zoe back home, and she advises him to meet her again tomorrow. You here tomorrow, Ken Sharp. Finch asks John what he accepts as continuing, and the last option makes sense of that she is a fixer. She offers a few courtesies to cash. For a situation like hers, there may be many individuals who might need her dead. Meanwhile, the police find a dead body of a man who used to be the principal suspect in an old case, including a dead lady named Marlene Elias. The case document that was taken in before episodes had a place with her. Carter speaks with the criminal investigator who used to work this case, and he uncovers some data. Marlene Elias was functioning as a server in a mixed drink bar possessed by a mafia were. The were had an unsanctioned romance with her, and Marlene believed him should separate from his better half. The were became weary of her and employed this dead man to kill her in those days. His case was purchased by the were, and the executioner strolled free. Marlene Elias and the were had a child who may be the person who requested the taking of the case document and killed the primary suspect in his mom's case. Before long, Zoe crosses paths with a person named Imprint Lawson, who was a main successor to a gigantic drug. He had her recover a recording displaying his unlawful issue, and subsequent to killing the correspondent who had the recording, he currently needs to kill Zoe too to release any finishes. John mediates and saves Zoe. While Finch acts like a significant investor in the drug to meet Imprint, Harold's examination uncovers that Imprint killed the lady he had an unsanctioned romance with. Yet things are a smidgen more confounded. Aside from engaging in extramarital relations with her, the lady was going to uncover a colossal outrage around one of the organization's medications. Imprint couldn't allow that to occur and remove the young lady from the situation. John and Zoe break into the drug's central command and recuperate a few erased records from the fundamental PC. Finch assembles the data and figures out that the organization's new medication has a death pace of 3%, which is excessively high. The organization had tried the medication on certain individuals, yet they are dead at this point. Most presumably, they paid the specialists to hold this under their radar so they could get the endorsement for their medication. Sadly, John and Zoe get found out. As they are restricted, Imprint is going to kill them. However, Zoe says that she has sent a duplicate of the report to an individual she trusts. Trust you wouldn't fret, I messaged the duplicate to a companion. Mark haggles with her. and Zoe consents to take him to the person who has the report, assuming he vows to allow her to live. Before they go, Zoe lets John know that he shouldn't have confided in her. While she slips a paperclip in his grasp, John releases himself, kills the person who was protecting him, and afterward tracks down Zoe to save her. The group of the heroes causes the data they to have public, and the drug is cut down, at long last paying for their violations. As they head out in different directions, John advises Zoe to avoid inconvenience. Avoid inconvenience. Yet, she answers that is impossible for her.